It's decorating with Dunkin'.
Hey, your desk looks great. Really festive with all the decorations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this Dunkin' Peppermint Mocha Latte gave me a little pick-me-up, and I decided to go for it.
Whoa, you even lined your desk drawers with musical lights?
Yep, and look what's inside. A Dunkin' Gingerbread S'mores Latte for you.
Get holiday in at Dunkin' with a $2 medium latte, cappuccino, or Americano from 2 to 6 p.m. The holidays run on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes, to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits! Everybody loves Hypnotoad! Scary Dog! Pearson at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting Network premiere podcast. This is TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is Season 3 of Marvel's Runaways. Runaways. Keep away from the runaround suit. No, that's something different. Runaways is brought to you by the good people at Hulu and Marvel Television and ABC Signature Studios and Fake Empire Productions. Joining me tonight to talk, this will be the third time he's been with me this whole strange trip. Ladies and gentlemen, la-di-da-di, he's feeling kind of snotty. It's Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
I don't bother nobody, but be ready because I'm going to sneeze at some point, guaranteed, during this podcast. It will happen.
Love it.
Mark Radulich, man, we're in season 3 of Runaways, and they said this is it, man. Right?
Yeah, they're done. Well, here's the thing. I think all of Marvel TV is closing up shop, and what we get on. What we get on Disney Plus is the new Marvel TV.
I'm not excited about that.
And it's stitched in more. It's basically like we're not confident enough in these properties to put them in theaters, so we'll put them on Disney Plus, but they'll bleed into stuff that happens in the movies. Like apparently, WandaVision connects directly to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, I'm all right with that. I like my Marvel, at least right now, TV series on the grittier side of things, hence why Punisher is, probably one of my favorite Marvel series out there. No surprise to anybody out there, but
Nucci got that ill communication.
I love the Punisher, and I could never see the Punisher being on Disney Plus in any way. Now, that being said, though, there's collusion between Hulu and Disney Plus, from what I understand. So I imagine some of the more adult stuff may find a home, but from what I'm hearing, man, it just sounds like it's all going to be kind of if it's on Disney Plus, it's going to be tamed down.
Well, the separate studio that was, or the separate arm of Marvel Entertainment that was dealing strictly with TV through ABC Studios is gone. And now everything is kind of run through the movie division. So all their TV shows are basically long, like 6-hour movies, from what I understand. So I don't know, and they've got a lot coming up. I mean, they've got Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Hawkeye. I'm not counting the What If series. That's an altogether different thing.
And that's animated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got those 3 coming out. Loki, 4. And then you've got She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Ms. Marvel. So that's a lot of TV they have to produce. I think they're all like 6 episodes apiece. But if you're really jonesing for the kind of Marvel TV that we've discussed a lot on TV Party Tonight, Cloak and Dagger, Runaways, all the Netflix stuff, we are still getting a Hellstrom series. They canceled Ghost Rider.
Yep.
already. That one never even made it to pilot. Like, wait, we're getting a Ghost Rider series. Hot damn! No, we're not. Sorry.
Ah, man, what a bummer. What a bummer.
But Hellstrom apparently is still happening, and then if you like your animated stuff, you're still getting 4 animated shows on Hulu. So beyond that, I really can't. I don't know enough of the details to talk about what the plan is. But as far as a lot of these characters, I mean, they always had the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, and whether or not they'll show up elsewhere and do other stuff, I don't know. We may never see him again for all you know. Maybe they'll show up in Spider-Man. Cloak and Dagger and Spider-Man certainly have a connection. Not so much the Runaways. The Runaways kind of had a connection to the Avengers. I kind of half expected some of them to turn up there. So
yeah,
we'll see. I know that. I mean, we're going to talk about it in the series finale. I think Nico alludes to the fact that she went to, I believe it's Tibet, to go train under the Ancient One.
I did. I picked up on that. She just said it was a really powerful wizard, and I was like, okay, well, I'm curious. That's where I was thinking as well. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I was thinking.
Here's the problem, though. That whole season takes place in contemporary 2019. And I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, and it's going to take us too far away from talking about the show proper. But how far back or forward are the events of Infinity War? Because I half expected people to be dusted at some point.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, the time travel stuff made sense if you're starting at 2028, which I believe is what Chase says it is when he's doing the log before he goes back in time. Mm-hmm. So that all makes sense. But he goes to 2022, and that's 3 years after the events of what happens at the hostel with Morgan Le Fay. That's 3 years after Gert dies.
That's right.
The events of Infinity War, I believe, took place in 2018. And
then there was a 5-year gap, right?
Yeah.
And then there was 20. So that would take him to 2023. I didn't even. That didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah,
I wasn't even trying to tie it into that or figure out a way around it or whatever. Did not even put the two together.
Frankly, I think that's how they should have ended the show. They just all get get dusted.
That would have broke people's hearts.
You know, they're all like keep the ending just the way it was, and the ending really was perfect. But instead of doing the allusion to Dark Alex, instead, as they're going out for brunch, they just all as they're walking, they just all turn to dust. Mm-hmm. Perfect. But we'll get there. They didn't do that. I think the producers said that even though it connects to the larger Marvel universe, they were pretty much given free rein to do whatever. Which is also why we're not getting any more of these shows, because I guess going forward, everything has to be more integrated with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And boy, did they do whatever in this season. I mean, my goodness, we were all over the board.
Yeah, this one, they had to clean up 2 seasons worth of story. Which they do about halfway through. Then there's the gotta get Alex back storyline, and then finally, which ties into the Morgan Le Fay stuff, but then they have to conclude the Morgan Le Fay stuff at the very end. Mm-hmm. And then we get that neat time travel story from where, Jesse?
Oh, that was straight out of 2017 Runaways. The Rainbow Rowell, at least, version starts out with Chase going back in time to save Gert, which, damn, man, did you have any idea that you were doing that?
Not a clue. Boy, did I fall backwards into that one.
Wow, we covered that on source material, ladies and gentlemen, so if you have the opportunity to go back and check that out, that just aired Monday. But yeah, man, this was that was spot on. I was like, holy shit, they're doing this. And here's the thing, and, you know, I know we're talking about the last episode and what happens, but that should not have just been one episode for me. I mean, that deserved at least 3 or 4 in this season.
You think
but
so?
I do. I mean, I understand the I would have rather focused on, Evil Wilder, Dark Terminator, whatever, going around and trying to cause havoc. I know we've probably got a lot of that in The Flash, but that kind of stuff appeals to me. So the fact that it was one episode kind of, I was just like, damn, we could have milked this for maybe 2 or 3, but we did it all in one. So, but I know I'm jumping ahead, so please, sir, whatever you want to do, if you want to do a synopsis, however you want to do it here, I'm following you.
Oh,
you hold the dog's head.
Perfect. Let's talk about. Let's break this into 3 parts. Let's talk about first the cleaning up the Jonah alien story. When we last left our heroes, the rest of the Gaborum family, royal family, showed up, and they possessed Victor Stein. They possessed what is her name?
Nico's mom?
Yeah, Nico's mom. Okay, they possess Stacy, who is Gert's mom and Molly's adopted mother. Mm-hmm. They possess Tina, which is some of the best acting I've seen on television ever.
Agreed, 100%. I had no idea. I was like, wait a second, what is she doing? She is doing something. It was a completely different person. Of course, she was supposed to be a younger teenage alien or whatever, and she pulled it off.
That was so good. So I get, the king of the Gaborum basically possesses Victor, the queen possesses Stacy, and then they have 2 children, one of which possesses Tina Minoru. So you have this woman who has been very serious, very starched, cutthroat
woman of power,
who's now doing a Freaky Friday, where she's running around acting like a vapid teenager, and she's fucking hilarious.
Okay, so I've mentioned TV Time plenty of times here. The one instance that was so evident and so hilarious is when they're on TV.
Oh yeah,
and Victor says we're praying for his full and speedy recovery. I think they're talking about Tina's husband. I can't remember his name. And then he looks over at Tina, who is playing with her hair. And then he goes, "Aren't we, Tina?" And she goes, "Mm-hmm, totes."
I was having the best time watching that. The actress who plays Tina, let me see if I can find her real quick.
You think I'd have that in front of me?
You
know. All I know is I know who plays Morgan Le Fay.
Oh, we'll get there. Okay. Brittany Ishibashi is Tina Minoru.
Okay.
And she's hilarious.
Yeah, she did a great job. Fantastic job, Brittany.
Yeah, she did. She's really a lot of fun in this season. She wasn't the most fun character in the previous 2. She was very, very villainy. And I thought this one, I was actually kind of the parents will eventually turn a corner and join up with the Runaways against the bigger threats. And that was kind of fun to watch, because even though the comic book did away with the parents in the first iteration of the Brian K. Vaughan series, we talked about this with the first season of Runaways, where they made a bigger deal out of the parents. Mm-hmm. They integrated them more into the story. They didn't just do away with them. They were as much a part of the narrative as the kids were.
Yeah.
So it was fun to see them do fun. It was fun to see them do fun things throughout the story that weren't particularly villainous. And some might even say they were heroic. Yeah. So, and then there's the mystery of who did the son possess.
Yeah. Causes a little bit of strife between our Runaways here.
Yes.
Because poor Nico thinks that the darkness that inhabits her may possibly be as a result of that alien son possessing her, but that is not the case.
Yeah, she thinks she's possessed by the sun, and that's what's making her freak out and lose control of her powers and become destructive. As it turns out, she's being manipulated by a witch. Which witch? Amino witch.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Le Fay of the King Arthur film. And they actually do say that at one point. It was Morgan Le Fay of King Arthur, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But you don't really...
I was just going to say, I think she had a big, and you might remember this off the top of your head, but there was a big, like, alternate history, or maybe more like a what if kind of a deal, where Morgan Le Fay transformed the Marvel Universe at one point and threw, like, everybody back in time. I cannot remember the name of the series. I'll look it up, but I just remember reading some of it. I think it took place through Avengers, where a lot of the characters in the Marvel Universe were, different versions of themselves, like back in the 1600s or maybe earlier than that. But anyway, that's where I knew her from. I remember reading that story, and I knew she was involved with King Arthur at some point, but regardless, she is also a Marvel character.
Yeah. I remember Morgan Le Fay from the Avengers comics.
Okay, that's probably where I'm getting it from, then.
She probably existed in Doctor Strange as well, but I'm not going to lie, I read almost no Doctor Strange ever. So,
I'm right there with you.
He was not a favorite of mine. So whether or not she had any connection to the Runaways, I haven't researched that end of it. I don't know. But they bring in elements from the comic after, like, the established, hey, it's the kids versus the parents who are Pride, and this revolves around the Jaborum, get 'em, jit 'em.
Shout out to you, upset tech deaf dude.
But they also kind of go their own way with it. And they hadn't, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe hadn't really made any use of Morgan Le Fay. I assume they had permission from Kevin Feige to use her, and there were no immediate plans to use this character, so they're like, yeah, go nuts with it.
Go ahead. We also had Zavin, who was a holdover from Season 2, who actually appeared in some of the comics that we read, too. And they, we were talking about this whole alien thing and how they wrapped it up. Your other favorite lady on the show, Carolina's mother, and I don't have her name in front of me either, but she's pregnant with the what used to be the King of the Gaborums.
Hang on. It's Annie Wershing, who plays Leslie Ellerbe.
Leslie, yeah. So she's pregnant with child, so they've got to figure out a way. There's some kind of a prophecy that Zavin has come to Earth. At first, she was going to bring Carolina, who I think, is she a member of her race? Is that what that is? Or I cannot remember how that all goes down. But I know that Zavin's there initially to try and potentially take Carolina with her. But that does not happen. She finds Leslie's child, who she ends up giving birth to rather quickly, and takes her to space, and off Zavin goes with Leslie Dean's child. So we wrap that up. She's gone and out of the way about midway through this season.
Yeah. So let's just talk about this. So the setup. So that's the setup, is that the Jaborum aliens have taken over a handful of the runaway parents. We have Chase, his mom, and Carolina, who are in the suspension tubes, and there's strife within the family because the queen just wants to find the son and get the hell off the planet, and he's like, well, kind of want to take my daughter back. But they gotta build a transport. There's a whole thing that they get into, and there's some internal conflict just within the villains themselves. And there's a whole thing of like, well, when are you going to eat them? Because apparently the alien that was Jonah jumped into Victor, and he's dying, and so he has to feed pretty regularly in order to not flake all over the place. Which is what starts to happen. And so he's like being encouraged by Stacy, who's not Stacy, to eat either Victor or the mom. So eat either Chase or the mom, and he's like hemming and hawing about it. So there's that whole thing. Alongside of that, you have Nico, who is trying to... They don't know where Alex... At the beginning, they don't know where Alex is, and they don't know where Gert is. Gert got kidnapped by her dad, basically, and she's like in a cabin in the woods. Chase, the mom, and Carolina have been kidnapped, and Alex is somewhere. Turns out he was possessed. Actually, no, Alex is around. I take that back. Alex is around in the beginning. So, so the whole first part of this is getting Chase and Carolina back and dealing with the aliens. So let me stop there and kind of get, what did you think of this the first leg of this 10 episode season?
Okay. Well, I mean, we still have, it's a nice way of kind of giving us still sort of an arc where it's the Runaways versus the parents in some fashion. Mm-hmm. But it's not really their parents. They're aliens. And of course there's a lot of tension because this is they're coming off of season 2. If I remember, well, no, it was at the end of season 1 where Nico killed Carolina's, who she thought was her dad. And so there's still that bit of tension there where, this is potentially Carolina's family. And here's another thing that I got. It started in this first leg, and I it was a trope throughout the whole season. And that is the whole, where the hell are we aspect of the show. Like, all of a sudden we're, okay, where am I at? I'm in the algorithm. Now, folks, if you don't know what the algorithm is, it's like a suspended animation, and you can put your consciousness in a computer, okay?
Yeah, they did this on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, my gosh, man. And then they would do this again with the Dark Dimension later on down the road here. And it just kind of got a little old because it's like, oh, here we go again. Now we're seeing our deepest fears. Oh, here's Nico, or here's Carolina, enjoying her fantasy life, and then it all gets ruined because they realize that they're in the algorithm.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Did
Sure.
you like it when Cloak and Dagger did it? Because that's a lot of Cloak and Dagger.
It is. But the thing is that was part of their power set. That was something that came with them, and they used that because that was something that you expected. Here, I don't know. It just didn't feel like it got old after a while. And that's, that the thing is that's a good way, because we're going to be talking about Cloak and Dagger later on down the line, later on in the show. So I'm trying to think of what else really. I don't know what else was remarkable about this first act, really.
Here's my thoughts. They've been dealing with the same set of characters and really the same problem since episode 1. Episode 1, and the whole first season sets up that Pride was a cover for Jonah, who is Gaborum, and he needs to feed on energy from human beings. Mm-hmm. And so everything was like an elaborate setup to get him a steady supply of food. Mm-hmm. And when and everything kind of built up to the kids realizing that their parents were murderers and taking off. And so the whole second season is now, like, I remember kind of complaining about that. Like, it took him the entire season to fucking run away.
Yeah.
Okay, they literally the last thing you see is them running away. I don't even remember. Like, when did they get to the mansion? Was that in season 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, perfect. So
perfect. Supports your point.
So I feel like seasons 1 and 2 were like one long story dealing with the Gaborum. Mm-hmm. And then the problem is that it ran over, and they left you with this really interesting cliffhanger for season 3. But we've already had 2 seasons of it, so they couldn't go the entire 10 episodes of just dealing with the Gaborum again. So I feel like they spent enough time to kind of make it interesting, and I thought they did some interesting character interactions. Like they blew everything up at the end of season 2, and then you had to resolve it at the beginning of season 3, which they do in a few episodes, and then it's fine, and then they're shifting into the next thing. So yeah. I was actually okay with it. It didn't. I didn't think it dragged out that long. Because I think they finally blew the aliens up in, episode 4?
I think it was right around there. Because episode 5 is Enter the Dreamland, which is,
Which is the fallout from that fight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so 4 episodes to conclude a 20-plus episode arc. Sorry, 20 episode. No, it was season 3 is actually 13 episodes. So 23
season 2
rather is 23 episodes long. So 4 episodes to close out that entire Jaborum arc. I'm not going to cry about it.
Okay. We do have to resolve Chase potentially, stabbing them in the back, basically, at the end of season 2. He's not really welcomed in with open arms.
Dude,
I think it was
Gert rode him hard.
She did, too.
Holy crap. By the end of it, I'm like, oh, good, I hope she does die. Like,
yeah. He was, he comes in there. But the thing is that, there was a lot of shit that went down because Chase trusted his parents. And I remember we were all trying to figure out who the traitor would be. We knew in the comics who it would be, so they had to swerve us a little bit, and they made it Chase, I think, at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
So him coming back in at season 3, are they going to forgive him? That was a big thing. The other little neat dynamic that happens through that first leg is Zavin learning to become human. That's a typical trope, but it was fun to kind of watch Zavin and Molly hang out every once in a while Molly tries to explain to her ways of being human.
Okay. Molly trying to explain how sleep works is fucking great.
I was just looking at a picture where Zavin's touched her face. She's asking why it's leaking, because she's crying. So
I'm sorry. Them in the bed and her going, okay, first put your head on the pillow. Why? Because it's comfortable. Pull the blanket on yourself. Okay. Now take this animal. What am I supposed to do with it? You hold it. Mm-hmm. Now think happy thoughts.
A lot of this though is Nico's show. There's throughout our first leg we're dealing with the Goborum, but there is a lot of focus on Nico and her character and character development throughout that and the whole rest of the season. The darkness that is inside of her, how does she's learning her powers, her love for Carolina, are they going to stay together? Can they stay together? There's those elements there also in those first 4/5 episodes. But that's really all I have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that really sticks out.
We'll eventually find out that even though Alex still had control over himself up to a point, he was actually the one that got possessed by the sun. And the sun just doesn't want to go back to the home world. So he's making deals and machinations so that he can stay on Earth. And it doesn't work out. The Runaways show up, and Nico uses the Staff of One to blow everybody up.
Yeah, okay, so you asked me a question when we were talking, I think it was Monday, like, what happened to the aliens? And I don't think we ever did get a resolution of that. I assume they're stuck in the dark dimension.
Yeah, I honestly, like, those first 4 episodes, I was kind of in and out. Like, I would nod off here or there. So, like, I got the gist of what was happening, especially with the first 3. But that 4th episode, I was like, I know for a fact I missed stuff and just didn't go back. I'm like, because at the end of it, I saw that she, her eyes got all crackly, and then she used the Staff of One, and then they were in the dark dimension.
Yeah, that's it.
And then they never went back to it again. So I'm like, well, they must have killed the aliens.
They've killed them or sent them off, or they're stuck. I don't know, but yeah, they definitely do not. I don't believe they come up again. So,
all right. So the second leg of this journey focuses on Morgan Le Fay, and it focuses on the fallout of them being in the dark dimension, which is where Alex gets trapped. So there's a lot of, like, Nico just going bananas and willing to, and she's trying to, you have Morgan Le Fay who's trying to manipulate Nico for her staff. because she wants it to give her enough power to keep the doors open for the dark dimension. You have Nico, who number one needs a Jedi Master to teach her the ways of the Force.
Yes, she does.
Because she can't control this power that she's got, and she's the most powerful runaway. So there's something in it for her to be attached to Morgan Le Fay. Meanwhile, Morgan Le Fay is laying the groundwork for her master plan, which is to bring the dark dimension to our plane of reality. Mm-hmm. And so there's just a lot of setup for that. So the next couple of episodes really do deal with getting to know Morgan Le Fay, getting to figure out what this plan is. A lot of tension between Nico and Carolina. There's a degree of softening between Gert and Chase. They start to work on themselves. He eventually tells her that he loves her, and she's like, "Eh."
Yeah.
I am not ready to say it back. So there's that. And then Alex isn't really in a lot of these. Occasionally they'll flash to him and he's like in a jail cell, in the dark dimension. But this is heavily focused on Morgan Le Fay and Nico and the Minorus. So I liked a lot of this stuff. I thought Elizabeth Hurley was great as Morgan Le Fay. She didn't play her like Maleficent. She's just like, I have a goal, and I'm going to use a bit of charisma and a bit of, and a bit of wit to get what I need done. Even though I'm a powerful witch, I don't want to go crazy and just start, throwing spells everywhere, because there's a better way to get this done. And I think, they didn't make her too one note. I think I think there was a degree of she genuinely wanted to help Nico, because Nico's a fellow magic user, but there was a larger plan afoot. There's a lot of great mending offenses between Tina and Nico, which I thought was good in this part of it. The only thing that drove me nuts was Nico and Carolina, because I thought Carolina was too much of we can't have any of the doc. She had no tolerance for anything Nico was doing. I thought she was a bit of a nag. Mm-hmm. So that kind of drove me nuts. The rest of it I thought was fine, and I enjoyed everything that finally... I guess the conclusion of that entire arc is when they get Alex out of... I guess it's Merry Meet Again, which is episode 6. Is it...
That doesn't feel... I think they came out... they get Alex out of the Dark Dimension when Cloak and Dagger show up.
Yes, so I'm trying to figure out what episode that is.
That's going to be 8. Episode 8.
Okay, so from 5 to 8 is this arc of where's Alex? We got to get Alex.
Yeah,
and a lot of Morgan Le Fay set up for the for I guess what would be the 2-episode conclusion.
Yeah, when they come out of the Dreamland, out of episode 5, they show up back home, and it's 6 months after they had entered it. Even though we watched one episode, 6 months have passed, and Nico's dad is alive and well because of some magic by Morgan Le Fay, who obviously Morgan Le Fay, Nico's dad and mom have a history with her. Yeah. And then it just turns out that, Nico's dad has decided to let Morgan Le Fay become either president of, what was the name of that? Wizard Industries.
Yeah, there's the whole cell phone storyline where basically she's creating a network of minions through the use of the cell phone.
Yeah, these people get...
I halfway expected Keenan Ivory Wayans to just yell message at the television.
Don't listen, folks. Don't just become zombies looking at your phone all the time.
Yeah,
that is exactly what went through my head when I was watching. I was like, okay, all right, well, I guess. But yeah. So she becomes like the CEO or whatever of Wizard and sends out these cell phones, which that was weird. It was weird.
I think the idea was again to create an army. She needed minions, and it was like, well, what's current? What's happening in the culture right now? Oh, everyone's got a cell phone.
Everyone's looking at their cell phone.
So if you really, it's kind of like the Pinky and the Brain episode where he's going to do mind control through the television, and the thing he's going to get everyone to watch is like America's Got Talent or something like that. It was some like reality show, and he knew everyone would watch, and that's when he could send out his brainwaves.
And what happens? How do they defeat this powerful plan by Morgan Le Fay? They cable guy it by destroying the cell phone towers, not destroying them, but basically taking the cell phone towers down so nobody's looking at their phone anymore. So can't get the message out when the cell phone towers are down. Trust me, I've been pissed when my cell phone wouldn't pick up a signal.
Oh,
so
sure.
I imagine all these people were still pissed and angry and violent. But they just
I
weren't under the
guarantee
control of Morgan
there were a lot of domestic violence arrests that night. I'll tell you what. Here's my problem with the Cloak and Dagger episode.
Okay.
It comes out of fucking nowhere. And the whole setup is, whatever you guys are doing with the Dark Dimension, stop. You're ripping the fabric of time and space. What evidence of... I was awake through this.
No, sir. You didn't miss anything. You missed nothing.
He just fucking... Cloak just fucking... Tyrone just fucking exposition dumps it. And there's no evidence of it. They showed you nothing. And so you're like, you are? They are? Like, I had no clue what he was talking about.
Yeah, dude, they clearly did not intend for this to be longer than potentially one episode. They could only have those actors there for so much. So they had to shoehorn some kind of a plot to get them in there, number one, and then...
But I'm fine with all that, but then they actually have to show it. Like, I don't know what the Runaways did that caused time and space. Like he was like, whatever you guys are doing with the Dark Dimension, you need to knock it off.
You need to stop. Stop.
And I'm going, what are they doing with the Dark Dimension?
Yeah, I don't know. They apparently aren't allowed to play in Cloak's playground without him getting upset about it. It's the only thing I can think of.
But they weren't that I knew of.
Well, I mean, they'd been in the Dark Dimension forever and a day that one time. I mean, they were hanging out around there. That have to go back in.
That was episode 5. This is episode 8 we're talking about.
Yeah, well, okay, good point. So, I don't know, man. I can tell you that my daughter, we watched like the first 2 episodes together, and I said, you're going to see some people that you recognize. So she's like, who's it going to be? I said, I don't know. You're just going to have to wait and we'll watch it. Well, as teenage daughters do, she's like, I'm going to go to my room. So I hadn't seen her for the rest of the series. And then tonight, when I watched Left Hand Path, which was they show up at the end of that, episode 7, I yelled at Kira. I said, holy crap, Kira, you got to come here. And she popped when she saw them. I mean, she was excited. And she's like, I've got to go watch this. So anyway, if it's going to grab some viewers, great. But again, they kind of throw them in there and they give them a reason. And then that's about it. You know, they definitely help out. It was neat to see them interact with the Runaways. And I thought, you know what, it'd be cool if they'd stick it out for the rest of the season, just kind of hang out with them. But of course, that's not going to be what happens. But I liked the Cloak and Dagger episode. I liked having them there. I liked having them be. They were very integral in that episode because
it was a mixed bag for me. I didn't like the setup. I thought I thought it was super shoehorned in unnecessarily. Like they didn't create. It wasn't good the way they introduced them. They just threw them in there. They gave them exposition to spout off with no evidence of it in the actual show, and then they're just there. So that's bad. That's just not good TV writing.
Okay.
What I liked about it, though, was once you got over that, they're like, well, just get over it. They're there. They're doing it. I thought their interactions, especially in the beginning with Nico, between Dagger and Nico, were hilarious. He's like, all right, calm down, Hot Topic. That's good shit. And I thought, like Tyrone and Chase, like talking sports, and like Gert's behind them, like this is my nightmare. That sort of stuff. Dagger warning Carolina about, don't let the darkness consume her and all of that. And considering half of the Runaways don't have any actual powers, I thought this was well done. Here's the problem. So Alex kills his mother, who was actually already dead, out of revenge for having shot I can't remember the character's name. The Darius.
Darius, yeah.
For having shot Darius, she's shivved in prison. Mm-hmm. Or she's shivved while waiting to be transferred to prison from the county jail. Okay, terrific. So there's an image of his mom in the dark dimension that he's got to kill. He basically has to. It's like this is again like the end of Titan season 1. He has to embrace the darkness, and I guess if the story you're telling is that eventually this is going to catch up with him and he's going to do bad things, which will never pay off because we'll never see it. Okay, but I felt like after so much build up, the fact they don't legit get to rescue Alex. They happen to be there when he escapes all on his own after giving in and selling his soul. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I love that storytelling.
It didn't bother me. I can tell you that the big payoff, though, was obviously him committing that act and then, inviting that darkness in somehow. And then, of course, at the very end when they're getting ready to leave, Dagger grabs his hand, and
that image is cool as shit, by the way.
Yes, dude. Well, I'm looking at a picture of what they showed in the show versus what was in the comic, and it's almost spot on, dude.
When he actually did it, right? He at the end of the first series of the Brian K. Vaughan thing, he had everyone's powers.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
He had it all. He had the Fistigons, he had the staff, he had Old Lace. So when I was talking about Cloak and Dagger being integral, that right there solidified the plot for me in regards to Alex. She saw his hopes, and his hopes were extremely dark. So that was very cool, in my opinion. The fact that he left on his own and they just happened to be there, I don't know. I thought that was okay because we have to see that turn for him. And then they got to get him. They got to get them all the hell out of there. So that
seemed like a lot of build off for not a great payoff. Because he undercuts it by escaping himself, and he only escapes because he finally gave in to torture.
Well, no, he did not give in to torture. He gave in to the fact that he had to save his friends.
He gave in to being tortured.
He had to save his. He was not being tortured. I mean, during the whole time he was there, he was. But so excuse me while I recant what I just said. The only thing that breaks him, though, is when the guy shows him the video monitor and his friends are about to be killed. And the only way he figures out to get out of there is to,
sacrifice his soul.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, turn to the dark side, Luke. Turn to the dark side.
You're kind of convincing me, but not really.
Yeah, well, I understand when it comes to lazy writing, I was not really thinking this season was written well in the first place. So by the time we got to here, I didn't care. I mean, I was just along for the ride.
There's a lot of dicking around.
Yeah, there unfortunately is. My biggest criticisms of this season were just that, okay, Nico's turning dark again. Oh, no, we're worried. Oh, no, now she's having a lesbian tryst with a lot of witches, and she wakes up, and then she has to talk to her dad, which was awful awkward,
I mean,
in my opinion.
I'm not going to... Look, between Elizabeth Hurley's tits and a lesbian and a witch lesbian gangbang, there's a lot going on in this show I enjoyed.
Oh, Elizabeth Hurley.
This is a pants-off dance-off if I've ever seen one.
Listen, I have so many staff jokes right now in regards to Elizabeth Hurley. It's not even funny. I have to restrain myself.
I told you offline, between Carolina's mom, Elizabeth, and Elizabeth Hurley, man, they were trouble in River City, let me tell you, Jack.
Oh, goodness. Goodness me. But anyway, I enjoyed Cloak and Dagger showing up. I think, watching Cloak use his powers was pretty cool. Yeah. And he knew his way around the dark dimension. It was kind of like the guide, at least to tell them what was going on.
I love the reference to season 2 of Cloak and Dagger. He was like, yeah, the last time we were here, there was a record store and a gas station. Perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
All right, so then we have our two-part conclusion. We have the final showdown with Morgan Le Fay, where it's all the Runaways and all the parents versus Morgan Le Fay. And so they hatch a plan, they execute said plan, but Gert gets killed in the melee. And even though they take Morgan Le Fay out as they had planned, we have a casualty. We have a casualty, and it's not a complete victory. Mm-mm. So then we go to episode 10 with Cheat the Gallows, and we start off in 2028 with Chase saying, "Hey, I'm going to use time travel to save Gert because I can't go on living like this." And so he travels back to 2022 instead of the original date, which was in 2019. And he travels there because he's got to stop, because in addition to wanting to save Gert, he figured out that Evil Alex was traveling to kill one of the Runaways before they put a bomb in his office.
Oh my gosh. No, I mean, this is a great episode. This final episode was it was right up my alley. I mean, just like I wanted to see more and more and more.
It reminded me of the series finale of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, All Good Things?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's kind of like, let's go back to how the series started. It was like a contrast to the characters. Watching the characters watch their old selves and interact with them was very satisfying. It was very gratifying.
It was Back to the Future 2 all over again for me. I loved it.
Yeah. I thought that was all handled very well. I thought the stuff with Evil Alex, was handled really well. And then when they redid, when they Back to the Future, the fight with Morgan Le Fay, I thought Chase is, sacrificing himself and then eventually getting murdered by her, and but fixing the timeline so that Gert stayed alive and they still defeated her. I thought that all worked, and I really enjoyed it. And then you have, as we talked about before, then you have that little tag at the end where Evil Alex left him a to-do list. Oh. Which, it's for fan services, point, and this is the second time they'll reference Victor. They referenced Victor Mancha twice.
Yep.
Which was fun for fans. And then the last thing was kill Nico, which would have been a great setup for season 4 if they had one. Oh. I don't know. Do you, knowing that we're not going to get a season 4, and I said this earlier, I almost think that if once they got news that they were that they were not coming back for a 4th season, I almost would have preferred if, as they were walking out of the hostel, they all just got dusted.
No, I don't want them to get dusted. As I said, that would be heartbreaking for people who watched this show from the beginning, and I don't even know if they've got dusted in the. Well, I don't know. I don't know if people would have rioted, but I could tell you it would have come close.
Star Wars is coming out tomorrow. We'll all be focused on that.
That's true. There's something new to complain about another day. Now, there were way too many people that enjoyed this show, and you want to send them out on a good note. You want to send everybody, this show's ending, you want to send them out on a happy note. So, yeah, I guess if we're going to have a season 4, I mean, I don't know how you would turn around and work that into, holy crap, now we're back again. What would you do for season 4? I wouldn't put the dusting as part of the plot. No way, not for me. I like seeing movies referenced. I would rather see TV referenced more in movies than vice versa. Because it's kind of like the big guy acknowledging the little guy. Go ahead.
I don't know who else. I don't remember volume 2 of. I don't remember
Runaways.
volume 2 of Runaways. We just did the Rainbow Rowell one, so I don't even know who some of their villains are.
Well, so there was a story in, I think, volume 2 of Runaways where they find Victor Mancha. Mm-hmm. So they find him. He's a android who thinks he's a real live boy, right. And it turns out it's Ultron's actual device. And then I think we have a whole other super team. Remember, it was like a B team that included like Darkhawk, and I think that part showed up in there. So that's all I can remember of Volume 2. There was another superhero team that was kind of working against the Runaways. The Victor Mancha stuff would have been great. That's where you go with Season 4. Victor Mancha.
Yeah, as it turns out, like kind of like a Terminator thing, the government actually has an Ultron bot. And that's where they get Son of Ultron from. Is this government tries to recreate Ultron in secret, and it escapes or whatever, and it runs into the Runaways because it looks like a teenager.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing. The other thing I might have done was maybe incorporate the New Warriors.
Okay.
Since they were supposed to have a pilot with Squirrel Girl, and that never got off the ground.
Oh, it didn't. Oh, wow. Well, you want to. What I like. I just talked about Cloak and Dagger showing up here and how my daughter popped for that. I want more nods to other creations, other things that they are able to bring in, and people go wild for that. People love seeing an actual universe in front of their eyes. Most of this season was just dealing with the Runaways and their parents. There wasn't like remember when everybody got dusted? Do you remember when the Battle of New York? None of that's referenced. I understand why. They don't want to take the focus off of the picture here that's going on in the Runaways' lives. But if you want to make a Marvel Universe show feel like a Marvel Universe show, then you sprinkle in all of that mythology. All of those, whatever you can get your hands on, you do it, and you toss it in there.
You know who would have been fun to show up in Season 4? Baron Mordo.
Sure. Bring a ton of magic users into this. Doesn't just have to be Morgan Le Fay. You know what? When Jeffrey said that he wasn't going to be alone on top of that skyscraper when all the shit was going down with Morgan Le Fay, I was so hoping that the people that would show up were just people that he knew that weren't the Pride. Like other Marvel people who were into magic, or other Marvel people that were, just somebody that we hadn't seen in the show before. And you're just like, holy shit, that's so-and-so. But, we had to get the band back together again with the Pride.
They could have brought in Wonder Man.
Wonder Man. I don't know who they would have been able to have access to. Just somebody to show up and again add to that Marvel Universe flavor.
They could have done something with the what are the Sokovian Accords.
Okay.
The government gets wind that they exist, and they're not technically a superhero team, though Molly keeps saying that. But they find out Molly has powers. Technically, Gert has a power. I mean, obviously, Carolina's an alien with powers, and then Nico has the Staff of One. So, they could have been an incident where they deal with a villain. It's caught on TV. The government gets wind of it and goes after them to try, to force them to become agents of the government, force them into S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Avengers. I guess in the Marvel Cinematic, you'd be forced into the Avengers, and they're like, we don't want to go, and they're running from the government, and so you come up with a character who might have to chase them down. I think if you do that and you do Victor Mancha, and maybe another magic user like a magic hunter, I think you got enough there for a Season 4. Maybe even too much. Who knows? But we'll never know because it's done now, and I don't know if you're ever going to see any of these characters again. Like I said, I think Marvel is trying to distance itself from the ABC TV era.
That's sad, but it's a whole new. It is a whole new ball game now, with all the streaming services and especially Disney Plus on the scene, and Disney owning Fox and all these properties that they have access to. It's going to be a different world in a year or two.
And Kevin Feige is also now over Star Wars.
Yeah,
he's like, there's only so many projects they can do at once. So I'm going to go ahead and make a safe bet. We're probably never going to see any of these characters show up in anything again. So, your final thoughts here on the season and the series at large.
Okay. Well, the season itself, like I said earlier, it tended to drag for me sometimes. The tropes of where are they? Are they in the algorithm? Are they in the dark dimension? Whose fears this and what fears that? That got a little old for me. It really made me happy when that two-part finale. I liked the final battle, and I love the fact that we have a time travel episode, and it wrapped it up pretty nicely. Evil Alex, we had Chase going back, saving Gert. I loved it. I really did. And everybody, even when the Runaways died after time reset, and then we saw what was going on with the happy ending, it was kind of heartbreaking to see them kind of fade away. So if you think about it, those are the Runaways that we watched all the way up until the end of this season.
Right.
And then they left after time got
They
changed.
got dusted.
Yes, sir, they did, by their own doing. By their own doing. Now, as a whole...
By the way,
Yes,
can
sir.
I talk about how I had kind of a problem with that?
Okay.
Because they established in Endgame that you don't just disappear. Like, you change time significantly, you don't disappear from the time stream. Your that past becomes your future, that sort of thing. The Hulk explained it. So when they started disappearing, a la Back to the Future, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that's not how the Hulk explained it.
Nobody knows how time travel works. They may try to tell you that that's how it works. I will tell you right now, no one knows.
I'm being
Not even
super pedantic about it and being really nerdy, but I'm not gonna lie. I accepted it as part of the narrative and was like, I'm okay with this because it is. I think it's a nice ending to this story. The nerd in me is like, that's not consistent with the Endgame explanation of time travel. Fix it.
No, sir. No. Hulk may think he has the handle on it, but I'm telling you, there's some witchery at work too. Okay, there's magic in this universe, Mark Radulich. So people can disappear. It's okay. How do you know? How do you know it was time travel that made him disappear? Hey, it's what they told you, but you never know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Sure.
Now, as for I understand what you're saying. I did not look into it because I knew I would find a problem with it. That's exactly why I was like, okay, they disappeared.
Don't think about this
happy.
too long. You'll just hate it.
Yeah, I'm not going to like it. I'd rather just end it on a happy note. But yeah, three seasons of the Runaways. I was very pleased to hear that they were doing this as a series. Do I think it was canceled too soon? Oh, Mark Radulich, don't go pulling other people's gimmicks. No, I'm pleased with what we got. I think they did a fine job adapting the characters. Man, dude, I think we said this on second season. These are probably some of the most faithful-looking characters to what we have in the comic.
I thought they were grown.
Yeah.
I honestly, yeah, right. They were totally created in a lab because they really did get actors who look spot on like they're drawn analogs.
Yeah, if you look at Chase, there may be some differences there, but then take a look at Alex. I mean, that is that's Alex. Nico looks like Nico. So Carolina, they are their analogs to the Marvel Comics. So they did a fine job casting. They did a great job adapting some of the story to the small screen. It's been a joy to watch it with my daughter and my wife, and it's going to be heartbreaking when I tell my wife that I actually finished the series without her. I have to go up there and tell her I watched 4 episodes tonight. And she was at work, so that's not going to go over well. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm glad
Jessica's going to be in the doghouse.
Well, she can watch it. She can watch it while I'm at work. She's got 4 days off. She's got plenty of time to fit in 4 hours of Hulu right in there. But yeah, man, I was glad that they brought it to the small screen. I think they did a fine job. I was entertained for most of the time, and maybe there could have been some things they'd done better. But either way, as long as it's a comic book property that there are so many out there now. They did this one justice, I believe.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty faithful to the comic. There's certainly a lot of nods to the comic, like we talked about. We just talked about with the Rainbow Rowell one. Certainly, over the course of 2 seasons, I thought they did a pretty good job of nodding to the original run from Brian K. Vaughan, the original book that we did when this first started. So I overall thought this was a successful series. I think you have to remember something. You know, TV shows don't get movie budgets. We're not talking like $300 million budgets here. So TV shows tend to be very dialogue heavy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you watch any of the CW shows, like The Flash, for example, The Flash is a lot of talking. And you have 1 or 2 action sequences in the entire 44, 48-minute show, minus commercials. And then that's it. That's all you got. So I thought the Runaways did the best job they could with the material, with the budgets they had, and the format they were going for. And I'm gonna miss it. You know, I enjoyed watching it. I look forward to it when it came out. I'll be curious to see how different things are when they start the Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
As far as how the shows look and feel, and you know, are they basically 6-hour movies, or do they have, you know, a traditional television budget? So, all right, I think that's it. This has been fun. Another TV show you and I have conquered and put to bed from soup to nuts, man. We did all 3 seasons.
We did, sir. That's a pretty good accomplishment.
Yes, indeedy. All right, so that's the end of this TV party. The end of any kind of recordings for this week. It's a short week. I only did 4 shows this week. Crazy.
Oh, yeah, look at you.
Slacker.
You've been slacking.
2 in 1 day, by the way. We did Runaways by Rainbow Rowell. Very short show, but Jesse and I had a lot of fun on that one. Check out the gag reel if you don't believe me.
Yes, sir.
Myself and Alexis Hana and Robert Winfrey kept it to 90 minutes flat.
Wow.
We were. I told him, like, I got a hard end. I got to give you the hard end at 10:30. And Alexis was like, "Hey, now keep that in your pants." I told him, like, we had to end at 10:30 because I had another podcast to do. So we did Jumanji 3, the next level, and then we did then myself and Chris Sheehan from the Cosmic Treadmill reviewed WWE TLC, and it was smooth like butter. Next week, again, another kind of short week. We'll have things are kind of out of order because of Christmas, so we'll kick off the week with Damn You Hollywood, episode 9, The Apology.
Oh boy.
Episode 9, Choose Your Own Adventure.
Please don't get pissed.
Yeah. Episode 9, A Love Letter to the Star Wars toxic fans.
Mm-hmm. It's not, dude. Some of the stuff you've been sharing, it doesn't sound like it's going to be pretty.
The impression I'm getting is that critically, it's a garbage movie, but it's all the stuff the fans wanted. So I'm imagining that the opening scene is Ray wakes up from a dream and the last movie never happened.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is my hope, actually.
That would. Oh my gosh, there would be fires. Theaters ablaze, sir.
With rock and roll. Yeah, I hope Ray wakes up from a dream and the Last Jedi never happened. I hope it turns out she's the daughter of Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the Emperor. Just all of them.
Wonderful. That would be wonderful.
There has to be a scene where John Boyega pushes Rose Tico into a pool.
She's
just
perfect.
there the whole movie.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. These are all jokes about what dick Star Wars fans are, by the way.
Wow.
Speaking of Star Wars fans, myself, who is a lifelong Star Wars fan, and Jesse did a source material for Lando, which will be airing on Christmas Eve, so you can enjoy that.
That's right, baby.
And then Jesse's got some canned hams he's going to release for you on Christmas Day and the day after. We'll get back to our regular recording schedule on the 27th. Myself and Pat Mullen will be finally getting to review Fuller House Season 5. Then we've got some boxing and or MMA on the 28th. Then we kick off the new year with a look at Fight Club 2 on source material, the Metal Hammer of Doom year-end special, and then On Trial, the original Fight Club. We'll have possibly a Chapter 3 in our boxing podcast. It'll be on Joe Louis. You know who Joe Louis is, Jesse?
I do, as a matter of fact. He's a boxer.
That was very, very good.
Very, very good. Very good.
And then, speaking of boxing, we'll have a wrestling review, wrestling watch-along for you. ICW New York, no holds barred. The ropes are made of chains. Why won't anyone listen to me? Chains, I tell you.
Oh, that's good. Nobody will fall out of the ring, which will be nice.
Like Jacob Marley, these chains. All right.
Wait a second. Merry Christmas.
It's a Christmas miracle, Jesse.
I want to watch Scrooged. I haven't watched Scrooged this year. I have been out of the Christmas movie mood for some reason. Too busy watching Runaways, I think.
Yeah, we haven't watched a lot of them. We did the Santa Claus because I had to review it for Long Road to Ruin. But we haven't watched them at Otter. We haven't watched... Yeah, we're like way behind. We haven't watched Yogi's Christmas. You ever watch the Yogi's First Christmas?
Have not.
If you can find it on YouTube. You should watch it with your family. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, Yogi.
Sounds great.
See, the premise, Jesse...
Tell me.
...is that Yogi hibernates through the winter. So he's never been awake for Christmas. But something happens at Jellystone National Park at the lodge that wakes him up, and now he's up. And they're like, oh, well, if you're up, you should celebrate Christmas with all of the Hanna-Barbera characters. So it's Yogi's first Christmas.
All sorts of special guests, I would assume, then.
I mean, it's the typical, like, Yogi surrounding characters, you know, Huckleberry Hound.
The surrounding cast, okay.
Yeah. Huckleberry Hound.
No, not the suicidal Huckleberry Hound, I assume.
No, nor gay poet laureate, Snagglepuss.
Oh,
I wish he'd been there. Oh my.
Yeah.
No,
having a picnic basket even.
Oh, yeah. He's smarter than the average bear. Yes, so we haven't watched Yogi's for Christmas. We haven't watched Mickey's Christmas Carol, which used to scare the fuck out of my children when they get to the Ghost of Christmas Future, because Pete's really creepy in that.
Yeah.
Remember Pete? Why, it's yours, Scrooge, the richest man in the cemetery. Ha ha! He shoves him in the fire.
Been a while since I've seen that.
It's creepy as shit.
Creepy as shit.
And I tried to watch my family. I tried to make my family watch Die Hard because the internet told me it's a Christmas movie.
And what they say?
And my wife's like, "Nope."
Oh, that's your son would probably love that movie.
Probably.
I assume he's a big action fan, right?
It's hard to say. He's a big fan of Plants vs. Zombies. That's what he's a big fan of. Fan of. I can't talk tonight.
Big fan of the Nintendo Switch.
He's a big fan of the iPad. I'm done talking now.
All right. Well, I have been searching all through the plugs to find out the name of that story that I was talking about, where Morgan Le Fay takes over. I think she takes over New York or casts a spell, and
did
all
you
of
check
New
browsers?
That'll be what I'll do shortly after this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I'll let you know all about the results on the next podcast. All the ooey gooey results, ladies and gentlemen.
I was going to say, I bet it'll be sticky.
I can't find the name of that story, but anyway, I will find it. If anybody out there is actually listening and knows the story that I'm talking about, maybe Morgan Le Fay wasn't involved in that at all, but I swear she was. So, ladies and gentlemen, go give.
I think she's in the Captain Marvel porn. I
Go
feel like
give
she is.
Oh man, I want to go watch Weird Science right now. Right now.
Oh boy.
That was Elizabeth Hurley, right?
No, that's not Elizabeth Hurley. What's wrong with you?
Who was it?
Oh shit. Hang on. Weird Science. It's not. It's Kelly LeBrock. You crazy guy.
Gosh, you crazy son of a gun. My goodness. Well, hey, how many more errors can I make on tonight's podcast? I haven't sneezed yet.
Elizabeth Hurley played the devil in one movie. Remember her?
Bedazzled.
Yeah, that's the one.
What else is she known for then? She was known for... I'm going to bring up her...
Yeah, I got it here. Apparently she was in The Royals, which my wife liked.
Okay.
Austin Powers.
Okay, all right, I remember that.
Okay. So, her movies are... The last thing she did was in 2014. She played Alexandra Ivanov in Victor.
Okay.
She was in something called Method. Serving Sarah, Dog, Double Whammy. Bedazzled is the last thing anyone would have seen her in.
Okay,
because
I
nobody
remember
saw
that.
the rest of this shit. The Austin Powers movies.
Okay.
Television.
Nope. Oh, yeah.
The Royal.
I thought that was the name of the movie. I was like, I've never heard of that movie.
So she's got like single episodes here and there. So
Big in Gossip Girl, it looks like.
She was in
episodes.
She was a big part of the Royal. She was in. She had a main role. She was Queen Helena. She was in 2 episodes of The Tomorrow People, as you mentioned, Gossip Girl. She was in an episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Oh wow, wowzers!
And tonight she'll be in my dreams.
So anyway, she was not in Weird Science, ladies and gentlemen. That's the point I'm trying to get across to you right here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, where you could go listen to us talk all sorts of other things, such as wrestling. We talk comics. We talk metal. We talk about wrestling. We talk about what was the other just recently? Oh, movies. Yeah, that'll be coming up here pretty soon. So if you want to do that, check out the Radulich Broadcasting Network Facebook page. We usually post most of our stuff on there. And you can give us a follow, a like, stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. I don't have anything else to add. Mark Radulich, I'm ready to get out of here. So throw it back over to you.
All right. Thank you for joining us on this TV party tonight for Runaways Season 3. For Jesse Starcher of the Source Material Podcast, be well, be safe, and behave.
Introducing all-new croissant stuffers from Dunkin', featuring chicken, bacon, and cheese, 3 cheese, or turkey and cheese. They're the perfect savory snack to satisfy your afternoon flavor cravings. Remember when your coworker flaked on that presentation so you gave it solo? Our croissant is flaky too, but the good kind that won't let you down. And oh, is it warm. Warm like the greeting you wish your boss gave you. And filled. More filled than your schedule before you cleared it to get a croissant. New croissant stuffers from Dunkin'. Pair one with your favorite drink. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
How do you keep your family healthy this season when it feels like everyone around you is getting sick? I use Sambicol. It's drug-free and scientifically tested to help support your immunity. Sambicol has the power of black elderberry in every purple bottle. It comes in tablets, syrup, chewables, or my kids' favorite, the great-tasting gummies. So this cold and flu season, support your family's immunity with Sambicol Black Elderberry. It's the only one I trust for my family. And best of all, my kids love it too.